Hey, First Baptist Church family, Pastor Derek here. Thanks for tuning in to this weekly update. As we continue to live out our mission, which is to draw our communities and world into a deeper relationship with God, there's a few things that we do on our own so that we can do that. And one of the things is to grow spiritually. And so we have to do our part, and then God does God's part. And so one of the things I want to share with you is what Jesus kind of expects from his disciples, those who follow him. It's pretty evident what Jesus is saying when he tells all those that he comes in contact with and does life with to go and do something. So, for example, when he came in contact with the demoniac and he cleared the evil inside the demoniac and pushed those demons out of him, he then told the demoniac at that point, who was a very sane person at that time, go and tell your community what happened. Another example is that when the woman who was bleeding came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, and simply because the power that's in him rushed through the cloak and stopped her bleeding, and he turned and found out who she was eventually and told her to go in peace. And then there's also the example of the lame man who was lowered down through the roof by his friends to put in front of Jesus, and when Jesus first forgave his sins, then he told him to stand up, go, and walk. And so the common theme that you've probably already picked up on is the word go. Jesus says go. That is our part of the mission of God, is to go. And so I share with you that one of the things you'll start hearing a lot around the church is this phrase, grow to go. And that is a phrase that says we take care of ourselves together, and then we go and we care for the community around us. And when we think about the vision of taking the transforming love of Jesus and covering all of Johnson County with it, it's enormous. But when we think about how we might be a part of that and engage with God in our community, who God is already engaged in, we first learn about God the best we can each day, each hour, each minute, so that we grow spiritually. And as we do this, as we grow, we are preparing to go. And what that means is that when we hit a spiritual level that's new, we will take it out to the community and use it. We will go in peace as the woman went, and we will go tell our neighbors as the demoniac did, and we will walk around doing that as the paralyzed man did. Now, naturally, they were not a part of what we would call the institutionalized church, but the stories indicate something, and that is that we have a part in growing the kingdom of God, and that is to go and share what we have already learned. And so as we grow together, we take that out and we influence the community around us with the positive, transforming love of Jesus. So how do we do this? Well, number one, we spend time together in study. If you're not a part of a small group, you need to become a part of a small group, because that's where you get to ask the really tough questions, you get to hear different perspectives, you get to pray together, you get to learn what it means to be a really strong spiritual family. You can lean on one another. And then at the same time, while you're doing that, you begin to pray about those around you in your life that don't know Jesus. And as you all work together in that small group, then you go out and the kingdom of God begins to then, or I should say continues, to grow because we're doing our part. So you'll be hearing that phrase a lot, go to grow. And I want to challenge you to join a small group. I want you to really think about that and pray about that. If you're not a part of a small group, because maybe there's a small group that doesn't really match who you are, then maybe you need to build a small group. And it's very easy to build a small group and lead a small group. I will be glad to show and teach any person who would be willing to start a small group how you do that. And it doesn't take a lot to do. It just takes a couple things. First, it takes an interest to learn together and know God more, which I think we all as Christians hope to do. The second one is to find a common ground, and sometimes that's in an activity or a hobby, or even in who we are, just as people, in introverts versus extroverts. And so When you find those common ground with all those things, then you really have a feeding point for a small group. So I'd be glad to teach anybody about starting a small group. But if you would like to just jump into one, please go to the Hub on a Sunday morning, and in the Hub there is a information packet on, or I should say a brochure rather, on all the small groups we have in the church, and I'd encourage you to join one. Now, if you are online and maybe you can't get to the campus, but you want to be a part of a small group, go to Get Connected and go to small groups, and you can read about all the small groups we have here. And we even have one small group that does meet online, which is kind of fun. So if you are a person who is outside of our campus area where you can't get to the campus, email us so we can make sure that you know about that group. All right? So I challenge you to join a small group so that you can grow in your spirituality, to go out and to share God. I want to also let you know that this Sunday, for those of you who will be coming to the campus for worship, you will see the coffee shop has a new look. It's actually in the transformation phase to what we're going to have it look like before Thanksgiving. And so I wanted to shout out to all those ladies and gentlemen who have come and helped with the movement of that, the tear down, the transformation. It's going really well. It looks beautiful already, and I can't wait to see what it looks like on Thanksgiving when we dedicate it. But more importantly, I can't wait to see what it looks like in a couple years when we have actually created a transformational ministry in the coffee shop, and we get to see how God's Spirit moves through that place. And so I would challenge you to be praying about the continued safety as we finish that coffee shop, but also the future of that coffee shop and what it's going to do, not only for people around the globe through the coffee we use and sell, but for the local people here that might bring them to know Jesus. That's it for this weekly update. I look forward to worshiping with you on Sunday. And just remember, our mission is drawing our communities and world in a deeper relationship with God. I'll see you on Sunday. Have a great day.